record on this computer. There we go. All right, cool. So what's going on in your guys' world? What's happening out there?
Grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it was a great conversation with Gary Keller and just talking about the market. Barry Habib was actually there as well. He had a breakout session. So I went in and talked to him, listened to his session. If you have not Googled Barry Habib market update, and it's that interview that he did with Mike, movement, all that stuff, watch that again. And I mean, I went through that first one and it was good, but when Barry was at Family Reunion, Keller Williams Family Reunion, which is their annual conference, if you're not sure what that family reunion is, he nailed it. Like talking to the real estate agents about the benefits of the market and the current conditions that we're in. And for you guys to understand that conversation is huge. So we'll actually talk about that today in his section on just a couple of things that I made power notes when I was thinking of you guys and watching the agents' reactions in the room. So just in case you didn't know, Keller Williams agent, I've been selling real estate for 30 years, I've sold 100 homes a year for 20 something years. The last 3 years, made a bad partnership decision, had to grab my business back and take control of it and get it ramped back up. And all of that is through a lot of what I coach with you guys on ramping that business back up and doing, 70 closings a year as a solo agent. There's 630 agents in our KW office, and I'm in the top 10 on transactions in that office out of 630 agents as an individual agent running solo, no big monster team, none of that stuff. It is a lot of the systems, and that's the stuff I bring to our one-on-one calls, and it's the things I'll talk about on these calls. So they are critically important. However, I think something that I said at Family Reunion when I was speaking on a section, you guys have the information I shared, which was find the hidden listings. And it's basically you sharing with real estate agents to go into their MLS system, go find properties that sold 5 to 10 years ago, which if the average person is moving every 5 to 10 years, all they have to do is go back and find the homes that sold 5 to 10 years ago. And those people are now thinking of moving, or they're going to start thinking of moving. And if the agents and or you are calling your past clients who bought 5 to 10 years ago, and you just call to check in on them, you're planting a seed. You're planting a seed that is going to water because they're planning on moving sometime in the next 5 to 10 years. And so you keep that seed watered. So talking about that, I want to say this real quick. I don't have a program to show a real estate agent how to sell 100 homes a year. I'm not coaching you guys to a program that sells 100 loans a year, which really every single agent relationship you have can be 100 sales a year. So if you have 3 of them, you can have 300 sales a year as a mortgage officer. That's before you even tap into your own database. And you're going to have 100 sales sitting in your own database because they're all moving 5 to 10 years. You have the same exact deals the real estate agents have, plus you have their database and their business. But one of the things I said is I'm not going to show you a program to sell 100 homes a year. And this is what I want you guys to hear. You already have 100 closed loans a year sitting in your lap. You already have it. All I do is coach to you and show you where it's sitting and ways that you can tap into it, and easy ways that you can tap into it, and proven ways to tap into it. So just know that I'm not coaching you to 100 sales a year. You already have the 100 sales. It's just a matter if you want to catch them or not. Second part of this started out with Gary Keller kind of starting off of, guys, 23 is going to be a tough year. We've been talking about that at Movement this whole time. It's like, it's going to be a tough year. It's not going to be a hard year. It's going to be working, and you're not going to be able to do the things that we just kind of coasted through the previous years. And this was another thought I had, is not from a coach's perspective. We say, don't look in the rear view mirror, watch in the front of your car, move forward. But I'm telling you what, with 2023, we need to be very on purpose. We're going to have to do things that we haven't normally done. And when I say look in the rearview mirror, I'm talking about let's look at. Oh, let me see if we got
She said
mute
she
somebody
took her
here.
blood pressure when she got home, which was normal, but
All right, gotcha. So what we're going to have to do is probably do some things that we did in our earlier career. And if you haven't been in mortgage all that long, then listen to those of us that have been in for a long time. What helped make us successful? And I started looking at, I mean, what I've been looking at the last year is since 2023 is coming around, and it's getting a little harder. And we started doing this again last year a little bit, is these buyers that were getting beat out on offers with multiple offers on properties. And most agents, I'm giving you guys content for you to use in the conversations with your real estate agents. Most agents are sitting there just waiting for the next listing to come on the market. In fact, every one of you have said on your coaching call, I've got some people in the hopper. We're just waiting for them to find a house. Raise your hand if you're one of those people. I've got people approved. I'm just waiting for them to find something. Guys, we can't wait around for them to find something. They're not coming on the market fast enough. The market is slow. And when I told you, like, I'm in the top 10, I got number 7 for listing transactions for the year out of 630 agents. I didn't list all that many. It was probably the lowest amount of listings I've taken in 25 years of real estate. And I'm in the top 7. Guys, the other 8, we can't wait around for people to list the property. You got to get your people to go find them. And that's why I shared this session on finding the hidden listings. And it all revolves around 5 to 10 years ago. Let's look at what sold. If those people are still in their house, then we need to talk to them about, hey, if you thought about selling anytime soon, this is a good time. And if we got buyers that we're working with that are approved and we're waiting for a house to hit the market, I said, take that same data, plug in the perfect house for your buyer. If you said, what's the perfect house for you? And they say, we want 4 bedrooms, 3-car garage, a 2-story home with a fenced yard and a walkout basement. Man, your agents could put that in right now, search 5 to 10 years ago, 5-mile radius around the neighborhood that buyer wants to live in. And they're going to get over 100 MLS listings. And when they go through the history to see if anybody's moved in the last 5 years, they're going to end up with a list of about 10 to 15 to 20 homes that are the buyer's perfect house, 4-bedroom, 2-story, 3-car garage, fenced yard, basement. I mean, like exactly what the buyer's looking for. So if I started targeting that list, I'm at least going to get 3 people to answer the phone. And if I get one of those people to let the buyer come look at the house, just if they, and here was the script I gave them, just, we know you're not selling. I've got a buyer that's looking for your exact same house. Would you be curious just knowing what a real true market value is on your property versus somebody telling you it's worth this, somebody saying it's worth that? If I brought a buyer through who likes your house and they actually love it enough to make you an offer, knowing that you're not intending to sell, you would get a real number on your house on what it's worth. In fact, they'll probably get a little bit higher number because the people are going to really want the house. The buyers won't have to compete for it. The seller doesn't have to take it. See, understand, we're not setting up some game here. We're just going to give them a real person that wants to buy their house. And here's what it looks like. You're going to leave the house. Your buyers are going to leave the house. They're going to understand before we got there, here's how I'm doing this. I'm going to find you some houses with no competition. Just understand, not everybody's going to want to sell. So if you like it enough to make an offer, I'll take that number back to them. And we might need to let that simmer for a day or two. It might even simmer for a week or two. But remove yourself put yourself in that seller's shoes. This all happens to you. Somebody makes you an offer that's crazy or good or whatever. You don't think you're not talking about it for the next 3 or 4 days as a married couple or as an owner of that house, and you're thinking about it, and then that phone rings. So it doesn't ring with everybody, but it's opportunities. The second thing it does for you guys is when you're the one having the conversation with your real estate agents, they're getting listing opportunities that maybe the buyer didn't like it enough to write an offer. But now the seed's planted, and if they stay in touch with them, they've got a hopper of 3 or 4 listings for every time they do this for every buyer they're working with. So, and I talked about expired listings. You know, The hidden listings are in the expireds from 2 to 5 years ago, not from the most recent expireds. There's hardly any expireds in the market in the last year or two. But go back 2 to 3 years ago, and if those expireds are still sitting on the market, and I'm going to pause right here. How many of you like this information so far? I mean, I'm kind of dunking in the, yeah, go ahead. Go.
I'm loving it, but what's an expired?
Yes. So an expired listing, I'm glad you asked. So expired listing is one that was listed with the real estate agent, did not sell, and it expired. So they listed it for 6 months. Believe it or not, it didn't sell, and it expired, and they didn't relist with the agent.
Okay.
So that's why you got to look. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, just flag me down if I need to pause out.
Do they always go 6 months before they expire, or sometimes shorter?
Depends on how long the agent signed the listing agreement for.
Okay.
So most agents will list things for 6 months. No, this is great. I'm glad that I didn't just skip over this thinking that you guys might all know this. If an agent is not real confident with themselves and they got a listing, they might list a property for 6 months. Very few agents are going to list a property for 30 or 60 days. You know, the seller wants to be committed as short as possible. The agent wants to be committed as long as possible because they're spending money marketing the listing. So like I typically will do a 6-month listing. The only time, and just so you understand it, the only time I would probably do a shorter listing agreement is if they want to underprice the property. Right. But if they want top dollar in a market and they want me to do a 30 or 60-day listing, probably not going to do it because I'm going to invest all the time and money getting the marketing out there, and it's not going to sell in that time anyway, because they're going to have to make a couple price adjustments and we'll have to come down. Any other questions on any of that?
No.
I mean, I know I just jumped in. Yeah, go ahead. I got
Hey,
Kevin
Brad,
over there.
how far back would you recommend the agent should look at expired listings that did not sell?
Yeah, so that's where I'm saying these hidden listings where they have no competition. This was the other thing I kept telling them. This is no competition for you guys, is 2 to 3 to 5 years ago. Okay. If somebody has been in their house for 5 years, they're probably
No, that's not what I was meaning. So
okay.
You said expired listing. So should I have the agent, because I have a client looking and we miss every offer.
Yeah.
So she has a specific area, not so picky about bedroom, bath, but is more area. So if I told the agent, hey, go look at 2 years, last 2 years, any expired listing that did not subsequently sell, is that a reasonable number? Or should it be less, like a year?
No less, not less. I mean, if I'm working for a buyer and I'm trying to find them a house, then Kevin, yes, I could search from today backwards 2 to 3 years for expireds. And the technical way to do that, guys, is in most MLSs, they can put a date range in under expired. It's actually expired, canceled, and withdrawns are what our MLS has. Everybody's MLS may be a little different, but and you guys give me some like hands up. This is good to know this stuff, right? To talk to your agents about. Woohoo! Yeah, okay. So the expireds in their MLS, they can put a date range. So they can just go back to say 3 years ago, Kevin, and up to today, what has expired. Now, the second part of this, you got to click on the history on each of those and see if it's showing a sold date since then. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it could have expired 2 years ago and it just sold last year. That one's off the books. They just sold. I mean, I guess you could call them if markets went up a lot in a year, they might consider selling. That is actually another little secret. I've never given that one, but there's a lot of people within a year, they know if they like a neighborhood or don't like a neighborhood. So that would be the angle on something maybe they've been in for a year. And you'd have to coach the agent on, your script is going to be, hey, I know you just bought a year ago. And if you love the neighborhood and love the house, then, I can just stop the call now. But if you've ever thought about selling and you could make money even in a year and move to a different neighborhood, then I might have an opportunity here for you. See what I'm saying there? So just think about this. Yeah, go ahead.
Just take a half a step back on both of these concepts. So we are coaching the agent to make these calls. We're, as loan officers, we're not marketing them, or are we?
I mean, if you can co-market with your realtor, it's going to lock you in more. But if you just have the conversations, this gives you a good reason to have one-on-ones with your realtors on a regular basis. Can you imagine if you had a marketing meeting? I'm just going to say the primo world. If you literally had a realtor, just say it's me, and we met every 2 weeks to talk about marketing and ideas and stuff like this, and we came up with stuff like this in our conversations, and you're bringing things like this to the table, I can tell you right now, that area overfilled like the most they had seen people there. And every agent was like, yeah, this is awesome. No, it's so stupid simple, but nobody like just says, hey, all you have to do is look this up. And they're like, oh my gosh, this is like free business. So if you guys are bringing this to your real estate agents and you're excited about it, kind of like I am right now when I'm sharing it, it's like they want to meet with you. And then when you're helping them grow their business, you're actually helping your own business. So that's the advantage of being on the real estate side. Like if I were to go into the mortgage world today, I would just coach real estate agents on how to be a top agent, and I'd own their mortgage business. Does that make sense? Now, I don't expect you guys to do it at that level, but you do have me for that. So definitely take advantage of it and tap into it. Any other questions on that?
Coach Gordon, can you give me that script again that you're saying when you're the agents are reaching out to those people that's fitting that exact criteria that the buyer has?
Yep. And I'm going to tell you what I've worked through. And if we've coached one-on-one and we've talked wordsmithing, like just saying one little word different, if that showed up in our coaching calls, here it is. My script is, hey, you don't know me from Adam. I'm a real estate agent, and I know you're probably not considering selling right now. However, I have a buyer right now that just wrote an offer. They've been beat out by other offers in the marketplace. And when I looked at your property, it was exactly what they're looking for. And I've got a buyer here that's ready to write an offer. Now, I know you may not even be thinking about selling right now, but is there if there's any chance you would like to know what the real value of your home is, and if there's any way you would allow me just to let my buyer come see your house, it doesn't have to be staged, doesn't have to be pretty. They know you're not selling right now. I'm just saying that I'm going to get them opportunities to go through a house. And if they like something enough, they may throw a number out there just for you to know what your value is. And then it's not me or some other realtor telling you what your house is worth. It's a buyer right now that can write an offer today that's telling you what your house is worth. Does that make sense? So when that happens, they'll know that you're not selling, but I'll let you know if they did like it enough to make you an offer, then you know what your value is. Now, we all know, I don't even have to say, and if you're thinking about selling, we could write an offer. No, if they're thinking about selling, they're going to go, seriously, they would offer that for our house? We'd probably consider that. It's like, all right, what's your time frame? What could you guys pull together? Where would you move to if you could sell the house for that? So that's happening on the backside to say, now I can put an offer together and take it to them. Guys, this is real. And here's the weird part is not that many people are doing it even after I share this with them. And they have no competition, yet they're going to take an internet lead and try and convert it and go talk to a stranger that's going to blow them off. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So this is an easy path for them. Good stuff. Anything else?
Have you tried this already?
Say that again, Kimberly.
Have you tried this already?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is how I built my business. So I will tell you.
Okay. So my next question is, in doing this recently, how are sellers responding? And the reason why I ask is because a lot of sellers are not wanting to sell due to the interest rates, right?
Yeah.
So why do I just refinanced into a 1.99 15-year. Why do I want to go into a 5.5 interest rate, right? On a new house? What's my purpose? What's in it for me besides the cash from the proceeds?
Well, no, that's going to speak the most is the equity amount that you're going to show them. If they've been in their house, there are houses in our market that they're already going to make 20 or 30,000. So now play this out. I'm assuming that it's going to go exactly the way that you're saying. So that's why I'm going to have probably about 5 of these that 4 are going to go nowhere with that. However, I'm going to I'll tell you the script that you still use on that, or that I use on that. But the one that's maybe interested that sees that number is not happy with their house. There's more stuff wrong with it than they wanted, or they really didn't like the neighborhood or whatever. That was me specifically before the house we just bought. We didn't know any of our neighbors. Nobody was social there. We hated it. It was horrible. So I would have moved in a second if somebody would have showed up on a doorstep doing this with me. So the point that, but to answer your question specifically for the other four is, here's the deal. In this market, what we can do is, if you're making money on this, maybe it's just 10,000 or 20,000. And I understand some of your markets, the price ranges could be more than that. I mean, our average price point in Missouri is 180,000. I mean, barely 200,000. Most markets, if they're 700, 800,000, I mean, $100,000 is real money. $20,000 wouldn't mean anything to an $800,000 homeowner. So I'm not going to have that conversation with them. I'm not here to convince them to move because they got a great interest rate. But what I am going to say is, so if you would consider it, the reason why you would even consider this is we can get you in another home that's at a higher price range, maybe the next level up, help you buy one at the low end of that neighborhood so that you're appreciating faster and getting even more equity on your money. So it's kind of like it's honestly it's a stock conversation. You can buy some stock that's getting you 5% interest rate gain, or you can buy some stock that's getting you 18. What we're going to do is trade out your stock here. And this conversation I have every day with sellers. You want to sell now because you're going to sell your house for the absolute most you can possibly sell it for in this neighborhood right now. Then what we do is turn around and buy, and we hopefully find you something at the lower end of a higher price neighborhood where you can appreciate faster. Does that help you with that conversation? I mean, that's the real script.
Okay, and then so do you? So you mentioned, and again, I'm kind of taking it from a seller's point of view, right? Because if I'm going to discuss this with a realtor and a tactic for them to use, you just said to a seller, potential seller, that and hopefully we can get you into, on the lower price end. So at what point do you then direct that person to start looking in those communities at the lower price end so that you can have them confirm that they're willing to sell? Make sense?
Yeah. Well, I would take them out and show them house. I'd show them a few houses. And then I would say, if you even kind of remotely like any of these, it means you're going to find one that you like better than the one you're in now in the next week or two.
Okay.
So, and that would be just like pull up 3 or 4 that are on the market right now and just take them through some.
Okay.
The other thing I actually did this. Now, remember, there's a lot of this stuff I did back in the day that's not out of date. It's just that I fed my database every day. I stayed in touch with the database, with with the brand plan and the long-term plan, that eventually I don't have to go work in real estate and go out and find business every day. So I haven't done a lot of this stuff in probably 10 years, maybe even longer, because I haven't had to. I get 100 sales a year coming out of my database, which that's ultimately where I'd like to see all of you. When you're feeding these people in every single day and staying in touch with them, communicating with them systematically, your phone starts ringing with business and you don't do the stuff that you used to do. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to touch on that because that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So, that's exactly what I've been doing, is staying in front of my CRM. And what's happening is it's a snowball effect, right? The minute that you start picking up the phone, you write in your notes, you set in a follow-up task, you pick up the next phone, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And what I've realized is, so I have my database, but also an Outlook, right? And I've got it categorized where I have the referral realtor in there, and I'll type in the referral realtor's name, and then here comes these leads. So I had probably 8 to 10 leads from this one, realtor over the last 2 years. Some of them I followed up with, some of them, they fell through the cracks. The interesting thing is, when I asked her about what she knew about them, and just no clue. 2 of them had already bought a house. One in December, one in January. It's like, okay, shame on me because I didn't follow up. The rest of them, she had no idea.
Yeah.
No idea. So, and now one of the calls that I made, basically she says, well, I had to spend some of my money because of life. And I said, well, there are down payment assistance. Let's talk about that. She got excited. She's done the application. That was a contact in June. So I've now contacted several leads, reached out to the realtors, and the realtors are clueless.
Yeah.
That's what I'm finding. And it's just very interesting how realtors a lot of times will maybe be upset with us or say, well, so-and-so's not following up with them. But you know what? Neither is the realtor.
So this is why I love being your coach. I am so thrilled that you guys ended up with me, because I'm the one that's telling every loan officer I've coached. I've been coaching loan officers since 2005. And does anybody know Jeremy Forcier out of California? You'll see him in a lot of Dave Savage's stuff. Short guy, black hair, funny as heck. He was one of the first loan officers in my first year of coaching. And I was telling him this. I tell all of you this from the beginning. The agents aren't doing what you think they're doing. You do not want to rely on a real estate agent to build your business. You need to get their database from them. And I have very specific scripts for them to give them your database, right? And I remember the first time Jeremy called me and goes, "You're not going to believe this, coach. This realtor just handed me his old database." And I was like, "I know, let's go." And that went from going from 0 and 1 and 2 off and on roller coaster ride mortgage business to 14 to 17 every single month. And now he's on stage and all that other stuff. So you got to get the database away from the real estate agent if you can, or build your database and bring that stuff back to them for every lead that you do get. We got specific ways to do that we'll talk about on calls. Yeah, go ahead.
If we go, so how are we marketing the database if we get their database versus what we do with ours?
So that's a real, it's such a good answer. I'm going to turn it back to you. What would you do if a realtor gave you their database today and you were going to connect with it? What would you do?
Well, I would want to co-brand it so that they have familiarity.
Yep. You're going to co-brand.
Yeah.
In fact, this is the plan. When you get the real estate agent, again, they got to trust you through some scripts like we're talking about, showing them what's available. If you guys go back and find the recorded call on your database is a gold mine and the 100 homes a year. If you've heard about the 100 homes a year, this is the originator right here. I've given that to all the coaches, and now we're teaching that throughout the area, and the different coaches are teaching it. There is 100 sales happening for every 1,000 people in a real estate agent's database. And it's real easy to show them how. You literally ask the real estate agent, "Hey, how often does the average person move in this market? I heard somebody talking about that. What's the average days or average years somebody's in a house?" Let them answer it. And they're going to say 5, 7, 10, right? In fact, the market's slower now. So I'm even just saying, but it's slower now, right? People aren't listening as fast. Yeah. So let's just say 10. Okay. How many people do you have in your Facebook friends list? How many people do you have in your cell phone? Or how many people do you have in your database? Any 3 of those or all 3 of those? Add them up. Have them write the numbers down. For every 1,000 people, if they're moving every 10 years, is 100 sales. And this is when I really just realized at Family Reunion this year, I'm not selling you a 100 home sale program. Like, use my program, you'll get 100 sales. No, you've already got the 100 sales. You just aren't tapping into people. Let me show you how to tap into those relationships and reconnect with them. So what you just said, you're going to co-brand. So you're going to call every single person in their database and you're going to say, "Hey, it's Nate. Just touching base. I work with Brad Korn, and one of his VIP, top client things he offers his clients is a mortgage review. And all we do is look at what you've got going on to make sure there's nothing out there better." And when I say nothing out there better, I mean, there could be something that could drop your payment $100, $200 a month, right? So those are the kind of things. And when you're using that name now, as you go through their database, you're going to talk to people and have relationship calls, and they're going to tell you what their life story is and what they're thinking about doing. And then that's the reason to call back the realtor. And you go, hey, I don't know if you remember the Smiths, just like you were saying. I don't know if you remember the Smiths, but they're looking at a possible, second on their home to do some fixing up because they're thinking about selling next summer. So I'm just putting it on your radar. Good thing you have me as your loan officer. I'm not saying that out loud, but that's exactly what I'm saying by making that phone call. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're going to co-brand everything, and then you're going to put them on the 8x8 and 33 touch, just like we've talked about. You're going to drop them a note. Thanks for the time on the call. It was great getting to know you. It's easy to see why you're working with Brad. Look forward to keeping in touch. Boom. Then I'm going to send them an email. Then I'm going to send them my bio. Then I'm going to send them a text message. Then I'm going to call them again in 4 weeks. And when you guys follow this machine, that's how you're going to get the 100 sales that are already sitting there. The problem is, even if we spot check 1,000 people in a database, the realtors got to put themselves through hell to call 100 people in a day. They're not even calling 100 people in a week. So you're never, ever going to call the people that are moving at the time you're calling those 100. You're always going to hit 1 out of 100 that are moving right now. So if it's every 10 years and there's 100 people, so there's 10 people moving in the next 12 months, well, that's barely 1 a month. Does that make sense? And if it's every 5 years, it's 2 people are moving or about 1.5 people to 2 people are moving every month. So I can call 100 people right now today, and only 1 or 2 of them are going to know they're one of the 1 or 2 moving today. So you got to call the 100 people every month for the next 10 years to get 100 sales. Otherwise, they're missing it. Now, this is a perfect setup for just kind of running through these notes, because everything that is being talked about, if they say relationship, there is no video program. Listen, the video emails, HomeBot, all these cool things that we got are all cool things, and they all work as part of your touches. But there's not one of those things that's going to build your relationship by itself. It's the combination of everything and adding the phone call back in. And that's where we're talking about in this market, and a lot of the notes we took. When somebody says it's about relationship, it's about follow-up, sign up for my email program, sign up for my video program, sign up for this, sign up for that. No, it's phone call. It's your brand plan. That's what's going to do it. Put everybody on the brand plan and use those things as one of the touches in between, but you got to have the phone calls in there. And we got to get these realtors to see that they've got 100 sales for every 1,000 people in their database that they are missing out on right now. Because the last thing I'll say on this, and then you guys, if you have any other questions, we'll run through some notes, but they're starving to death. Guys, I was the top listing agent out of 630 agents with the lowest amount of listings I've ever had in my career. People are freaking starving out there. I mean, now the profit's through the roof for me, but I just can't believe that I'm coaching, 2-3 days a week. And what are they doing? What is everybody doing in that office? There's 630 agents. They're starving. They're not even in the top 10. Anyway. All right, what else on that? Good? All right, is my screen, I've been talking all day and you guys just been staring at this screen, right? You still got the screen on there for the notes? What I did was I just kind of went through, just on my phone is how I took the notes in all the sessions. But the coolest way they started the conference out was the 5 things you can't hack. This was with Gary Keller. And he was basically saying, everybody talks about hacks. Everybody talks about hacks these days. Hacks are just a shortcut to something, or it's somebody's system on doing one particular thing. So when we hear about a HomeBot system, that is and it works really, really good. In fact, I don't know if our HomeBot, Ed's on the call. Ed's big on the HomeBot. It works good for what it does, but it's one of the touches that needs to be in your stuff. So what he was talking about here is when it comes down to hacks, the 5 things you cannot hack is what I wanted to talk about. And I took some notes. So the closer you are to the truth, the easier it gets. You can't change the fundamental truths. Fundamental truths meaning relationships are about, it's a contact sport, right? To change your life, you have to change your identity. He was talking about, I'll talk about that in a second. It's basically said, he was talking about, who are you? Who do you want to be? And that's the first circle that you see here. and who are you trying to be? And it's about really getting your identity straight. Like if you want to be the relationship guy, it means you have to talk to human beings. It's not emails, it's not text. By the way, text messaging, whenever somebody says, well, some of the millennials, they really do a lot of stuff by text. They do stuff by text with people that they're connected with, that they talk to regularly. They do not text back and forth with total strangers. And not very many, right? There's got to be something that they want. So usually we're using email and text during a transaction all the time. You don't have to call somebody all the way through a transaction because you've already got a relationship with them. But remember, 98% of those 1,000 people are not doing a transaction right now. You should not be relying on email and text to do that. So when he was talking about your identity, it's about being on the phone 3 to 4 hours a day. Now this is the extreme version, but this will make you $1 million. If you would commit to being on the phone 3 to 4 hours a day, you will net $1 million after all your expenses and after everything, because you're going to be talking to 5 to 10 people a day, and then you're staying in touch with people. And when we say talk 4 to 5 hours a day, 3 to 4 hours a day, a lot of that is just cultivating. It's the call number 2 of the 8x8, the call number 3 of the 8x8, the 4 calls throughout the long-term plan. It's not always just calling and talking to strangers for 3 to 4 hours a day. I mean, new leads are maybe about an hour a day, and then eventually you're not even going to need to do them anymore. If you focused on 5 people a day, you plug them into that brand plan, and then you run them through the long-term plan, whether they're an agent or whether it's your old consumer database. If you did 5 a day, 5 days a week, no matter what, becoming the person that's actually going to have a database that just spits business back out at them, it's 5 a day, 5 days a week, it's 1,200 people a year. If you did this for just the next 5 years, you will have 6,000 people in your database, which means somewhere between 600 to 1,200 people are moving new purchase loans every 5 to 10 years, right? You're going to have 12 out of 6,000 people. You're going to have 600 to 1,200 people moving every 12 months. Every 12 months, like you won't even be able to handle all that. So you're going to refer some stuff out, or you're going to handle the easiest stuff, and you're going to miss some business unless you build your team big enough, and then you could capture more of it. But man, if you even captured 300 of those, it's right there in our database. It's a 5-year plan. You'll never have to have another internet lead the rest of your life. So that's where number 3, he came in. Or number 2 is, if you want to change your life, you have to change your identity. So you're going to need to become that person that is really, truly on the phone. I don't think Mike Morrison's on the phone. He's one of the top LOs in the company. He was on that weekly, our weekly Thursday call that we do. We interviewed him, and you heard a lot about relationships, and he's on the phone with agents, talking to them a lot, not just during a transaction, but just staying in touch with them. Guy's real world. I mean, it's not easy for him. He's like, man, the hardest thing I do every day is just keep those calls going and keep in touch with people so I don't lose track of them. And on that 8x8 plan, when it's time to call again, you got to call. You can't let it go for a month or two. And somebody who like starts a relationship and doesn't talk to him again for 3 weeks because they don't want to bug them, or talk to him every month because they don't want to bug them, those are the people that are going to lose those relationships, because you get out of sight, out of mind. All right, I want to pause there for a minute. Any questions, anything coming up out of anything so far? Keep rolling. So number 3, diluted focus results. Diluted focus results in diluted results, ROI. So there's a lot of shiny objects, and Gary talked about it. He talks about every shiny object you see is just another hack, and you can't hack a relationship. Those hacks are in there to get in front of people that are most likely ready to buy and sell, but the hacks are always going to get a 1 to 2 to 3% return. So it's like you're doing massive coverage, throwing a big wide net to find the 1 or 2 deals, when you already have everybody that's in the wide net. If you just stayed in touch with all of them and got connected with all of them, they'll all do deals with you. It's just, you got to start thinking in terms of 5 to 10 years, right? Because every 20% every single year will kick out of that until you get 100% of them. And every year that you build on that, you'll get more and more. This was the other cool part. And then I'll pause after this Gary section. So he was talking about the way people line up dominoes. A lot of people will line up their dominoes and they build their business where it's like, I get this down, then I add this, and then I add this, and I might add a person to my team. I might add 2 or 3 more realtors to my business model to bring in more business. When in actuality, what he said is you got to stack your dominoes. You want to stack them up so that you're doing this, and that's now allowed you to help 3 other realtors do this, and you're building your business on that. And then that's helping you help somebody else come in and have a business that they want. And he was talking about stacking the dominoes versus adding things. So what are you doing in your business that's actually continuing to support and grow what you're doing, and you're bringing more people in to help them do the same thing? Again, that whole opening revolves around everything that I took notes on, and that is getting those real estate agents to partner up to meet about how do we get more business. We've got to do something different that you've never done before, and that is stay in touch with your database. Number 1, write every single person in your database a handwritten note that's personalized to them without your business card in it, which means you got to talk to them, right, and connect with them all. But he talked about every day you wake, maximize your potential. Once you've accomplished everything that you can accomplish and you can't get any better, that's when you're going to help somebody else. So what I'm doing right now, I've done that in my real estate business. Now I can help 100 people sell 100 homes a year. And then those people will help 100 people sell 100 homes a year. Now we got 10,000 people selling 100 homes a year. And guess what it does for our industry? Yours and mine, mortgage and real estate, is it secures the real estate transaction that no robot, no Zillow is going to come take it away, because it's all about relationships, and everybody's missing that part. They're talking about big data down to they can predict when somebody's going to move, and we'll send you that list on a daily basis. Just call everybody in the whole neighborhood and stay in touch with them. And you don't need somebody to predict anything, because even if I get that predictive analysis, I don't have a relationship with those people. So just because I know that they're planning on moving, I mean, they're going to go with the person that they trust the most and like the most. And so your conversion rate is even lower, because you're still now a stranger calling them out of the blue, even though they're thinking about moving. If they don't know anybody else and get any advice from anyone else, then yeah, you might get that piece of business. Otherwise, you're going to be fighting for it against somebody else. And I mean, the real estate world, and probably the mortgage world too, it's like, well, my niece is a mortgage officer, I've got to give her a chance. Does anybody heard that one before? Right? So, I mean, when you have strong relationships, they know their niece is a mortgage person, but because they talk to you on a regular basis, they call you first and go, my niece is a mortgage person. How the heck how's this going to work? And as a real estate agent, I would say, hey, don't worry about it. I'll take care of your niece. This is about you getting the most equity from your house. I'll make something work out with her. Don't worry. However we can get her involved, I'll help her find a buyer for it or something. She can get paid the commission on that side, and we'll work something else out. But it's more about you and your equity right now. Let's see. Need to stay focused on what you do well. Earn the right to make money and invest, then take the money to help others make more money. So again, one way to think about your legacy in this mortgage business, where you guys are sitting today, and actually this is just another thing I wanted to bring up on today's call, is that you get your systems down and you grow your business to like whatever's the most you can do. Believe me, there could be a comfort zone that you're going to hit too. But if your systems can produce more, and you can bring on team members that can have a great lifestyle working for you, and this machine just works year in and year out, and you provide a great lifestyle for somebody and they've got their job secured, and then they're helping more people, whatever they're doing at church and locally, that's what it's all about. So there's some new structures coming out in the coaching, and one of the options is players coaches, which is actually you guys, the mortgage professionals, not in a coaching role like we're in, but more as a mentor kind of coaching role, where you could pair up with somebody that's starting out and help them get their business going and get paid to do it. We've got stages now. We've got the Thursday call where you're doing the plan and it's working in your business. Guys, all you have to do is tell me, hey, I would love to share what's working for me and I'm doing it and it's showing success and I'd like to share that with other people. That's what happens when you get above your comfort zone. When things are set, now you want to share it with other people and help them do the same thing so that they don't have to go through the struggles you did. So I can get you on stage. I mean, we're looking for our coaching. It's our coaching clients that are showing up on stage. The fifth thing he said was relationships matter and it's a daily practice. The times are tough and they didn't do it. Oh, he was talking about good to great companies. He said there's a lot of really good companies out there. The problem is they didn't do their business right to be able to sustain markets when they change. They built them in hot markets. How many loan officers have left the industry from the refi craze, right? I mean, the refi craze was as fast as you could take the phone call. Now, if you would have set up a machine on your database years prior to that, that your database was still spitting out those 100 transactions a year for every 1,000 people, the refi boom would have just been extra. And then when that market went away, you'd still have your database business. And right now, what we're seeing is that the market's tightening up. So we got to get more people in our database and we got to be in relationship with more of them better. I mean, if I had 2,000 people in my database before now, I need 4,000. Crazy thing is I've got more than 4,000 between Facebook and my cell phone. So I can double my business today, but not everybody's in there on that plan running for the connections. So he was literally talking about a lot of these companies just can't sustain long-term market changes because they didn't really build sustainable models. And the great book that's out there is Good to Great by Jim Collins. And he talks about, he researches 25 companies. 12 or 13 of them were really good companies. They had growth for 25 years. But there's 12 companies that have had growth past 25 years and they're still growing today. And when you look at the contrast of the two companies, I mean, these people are just really low key, subtle. The CEOs are barely even seen around the company. I mean, they're not the middle highlight of it, right? And the other companies are like kind of like an Elon Musk that's just like everywhere, and he's the poster child for it and all that other stuff. So there's just high ego versus like people that are in on the street, boots on the ground with their people in the streets. Okay, any questions? Anybody want to throw it? Yeah, go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, back to the 8x8. I understand that, you know, if you've got a new lead or someone you've made contact with to go in that order, but what if when you're going through and you're mining your database, like what if, I mean, you can't just pick up in the middle of 8x8. So what do you recommend to do that for someone you haven't talked to in a long time?
Yeah, everybody starts on the first column. Yeah, go ahead.
Always.
Go ahead and add to that first, Kimberly, before I answer.
Do you have a CRM?
What CRM are you using, Nate?
Oh, me, I'm using M3 in
You're
with
using
Movement.
Total Expert? Are
Yeah.
you in it every day?
Yeah.
Are you're in it every day during the day and setting tasks for yourself and following up on those tasks?
I haven't been doing the tasks within it.
Okay.
I've been using the
that
Power
right-
3 to track everything and then making the calls one by one, but and then adding a note, but I haven't been using it as a proper CRM yet. No.
Okay, that's key. And I'm going to tell you that has helped me, because when I say snowball, it's like, I mean, I haven't talked to this guy in like 8 months. I haven't talked to this guy in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what the hell? All right, I'm gonna pick up the phone, I'm gonna call, right? And I do. And they'll say, hey, I'm glad you called because, or whatever the reason is, right? So when I say snowball, I'm seeing a big difference. I'm making my notes. I'm going into last contact, so it updates my contact. And then immediately I'm setting a task, whether that's in a month, whether that's 2 months. This goes along also with people that I might be helping with credit. And that tells me who I need to call, right? Do you have Sales Boomerang?
I haven't, no.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah.
So that also helps me to identify who the realtor is so that I can go back to the realtor and give them an update on what's going on. One of the other things that I've started doing that helps is I have a specific, let's say, a happy birthday text. It's not happy. I don't just type happy birthday. I actually downloaded something from Etsy, right? It has my information, and I go to my birthdays on Total Expert and I'm sending a text message. Well, there was a guy who I hadn't reached out in a year and a half, 2 years, right? He had credit issues. He wanted to do some things. And he was very surprised that I wished him a happy birthday. So now I set up a task in there to say, I need to follow up with him and see if they're ready to start looking for a house again.
Mhm.
I'm telling you that if you really work on Total Expert, and yes, it can be a little convoluted, but Brittany is showing us how, like we have those, Total Expert teachings, right? Kind of segments. Have you been on those, or which region are you in?
Northwest.
Oh, okay. All right. That's why then. But if you follow through with tasks on Total Expert, I think you're going to see a difference. It's going to keep you on track.
So I'll give you a sample idea. Most of what we have is while they're during a transaction. It's the pipeline stuff that's running. Keep in mind that 98% of the people are not in a transaction with you right now, so there's nothing happening. So Ed uses HomeBot. HomeBot, if you were to take anything that you're sending out, if you're signed up to anything that's automatic, whether it's an email newsletter, whether it's a HomeBot sending out a market review, whatever, just like draw a timeline of 365 days and just draw a dash for, if it's every week or if it's every month, draw your dashes and put that's HomeBot report, whatever. How often do those HomeBot reports go out? Is it on a set
Monthly.
thing, Ed?
Every month.
Every month. So
It's
that's
like
gonna
a
be
401k statement for your house.
Yeah, so there's 12 dashes on 36 touches. Now, in between those 12 dashes, put another dash, and then that could be like a text or something in the mail or something like that. And then 4 times a year, you're going to put a phone call in there. And in between those phone calls, you're going to have 4 social media touches. So I will tell you that the way Jeremy Forcier managed this the first time around is in the task. He was going from A to Z through his database, making a call, writing the note, making a note, and then he would schedule the next call for 3 months from now. But he had other stuff going out in between. You don't want to not talk to him again for 3 months. They need to get something from you every 10, 11 days, something like that. That's an actual study, by the way. And it can be anything. It can be more automation versus touching. But once I call and talk to them and write the note, so everybody in your database, to answer that question even more specifically, Nate, is I played a game and I sent out a letter that said, I apologize for not keeping in touch. I just was reflecting on my business this year, realized I have not done a great job of keeping in touch. And I would love to give you a call in the next day or two, see how you're doing, want to catch up, see what's going on. And then, so literally I sent that letter out to 5 people today, and I went ahead and scheduled 5 calls for those 5 people 4 days from now, right? Mail time. Give them time to get the letter. And then it says, I'm going to call you in the next day or two. So I call them 4 days later. Now, if I get their voicemail, I just sent the letter. You don't know if a spouse saw it and the other spouse didn't. So I'll reschedule a call for the next day. Right? I'll mark that one done, put in my notes, got message. I'll schedule 3 calls out. Once I schedule 3 calls out, and the next 2 phone calls are going to be real simple. It's like, hey, it's Nate again. Nothing urgent. Just was catching up. Hope you got the letter, And then the next one would be, hey, it's Nate again. Just give me a call back. Nothing urgent. Now I might go ahead and drop the note in the mail and just say, I was trying to reach you by phone. Hopefully I've got the right number. Hopefully you're getting this note. That's my problem for not staying in touch. I apologize. I want to catch up. So now I've got that plan running. Now I could put them on the 8x8 or that long-term plan from that point forward. most of the people you're going to talk to over those next 3 days. And that allows you to write the note. And if you have the address in front of them, you're just saying, are you still on XYZ Street? And if I'm talking to a real estate agent, I just did it with all the agents I just met. And I don't know why your guys' script would be any different. It's like, do you go into the office every day or are you working from home? Oh, I'm working from home. It's like, well, dude, I want that address. I want to keep in touch with you. Oh, okay. They just gave it to me. So, and it can't be any different in your world. It's all how we handle it. And so a lot of times we get our old sales brain back mixed in with this, that we're just trying to connect, not about mortgages, but connect first and then earn the right to be able to get the mortgages, so that we say stuff like, well, do you mind if I keep in touch with you? Could I get your address? I mean, if you have to say that, you're not connecting on the phone call yet. Does that make sense?
And if you need help practicing, go to a bar and start talking to girls or guys, whatever floats your boat, and practice.
Yeah.
So, hey, kidding aside, Kim, since you like using Total Expert, I recently have been trying to get into Total Expert. I'm not really a big fan of it because of the glitchiness of it. I use Jungo. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. It's a Salesforce based, and just a little inside tip, y'all. Total Expert will eventually go away too. We as a company started working on a Salesforce based CRM. And I'm actually helping out with corporate and the project manager and building that out. So get used to Total Expert, use it, but something new is coming down the road. Heads
As
up.
long as we can port all our stuff in.
Yeah, they're gonna do it for us. So
Well, I
Just
will
real-
say this about the whole database thing. Don't worry about which one we're using or not
Yeah.
using. Every time we move, you've got, if you create a master list, first of all, you have everybody there, but every time we move, it just makes you touch your whole database more, you know? It
and
does
I'm using
suck.
both, you guys.
Yeah.
I'm using both. So I keep track of my tasks, my to-dos, everything is in my Salesforce. But then now I started using Total Expert because all of our email marketing campaigns are going through there. And it's a phenomenal pain in the ass to have to, I'm sorry if we're recording. If
all right.
you have to go ahead and use the Salesforce ones, they don't look that good. And they're really difficult to build out yourself. So I've been kind of getting on the marketing department's back to really come up with some more email campaigns for us. The new one that they just did, it's LPG is the abbreviation for it. It's a long-term touch.
Yeah, it's a soft touch for
It's
your
a s-
leads.
For 180 days, you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. I got off the phone with our regional marketing coordinator. Unfortunately, that's really the only one that kind of will help us keep in touch with people for an extended period of time. That hot lead is crap. I don't know if you guys have ever read it.
Well, the hot lead, I think, is more for lead generation. It's not
Open house stuff.
necessarily. Yeah. It's for like a lead generation type thing. It's not for your
So-
soft touch.
All of my notes are right here. I was like, look at, you guys need to have all of these different email programs for us. We have leads that we've never spoken to, but we have their information. We've spoken to them, they haven't filled out an app. They filled out an app, they haven't given us docs. They started the app, they never finished, no docs, right? And then we have those that got pre-approved. So we have the pre-approval one, and we have the like, hey, let's get in touch with people and keep in touch with them for a long period of time, but we don't have anything in between. So
Yeah, so the
I've-
issue is Total Expert, because you have to go through Total Expert for all of that. And remember, it's not a campaign anymore, it's a journey.
it's
The
the
one
same
thing, no, it's not. It's slightly different because
How?
journeys are more convoluted in the way that it's programmed, where campaigns used to be much easier, where we could set up our own campaigns using our own marketing material.
You can still
But
do that.
Total Expert won't do that anymore. They don't do.
You can still set up your own email campaigns in Total Expert. It's a pain in the ass. I wouldn't do it if I
Yeah,
were you.
it's manual though. It's manual work.
It's
It
manual.
is.
Yeah, no,
the
I
point I'm
know
trying
that.
to make you guys is that you have an automatic extra touch for at least
Yeah.
6 months with clients by utilizing their marketing campaign, and it's not that bad.
Well,
It's written in a pretty decent manner, where it looks like you're writing it, and it doesn't have that hokey pokey pictures and icons and stuff like some of their other email campaigns. So I would just encourage you guys, if you're looking for something to add an extra touch, to start utilizing that and dropping leads that may or may not be going anywhere into that touch system.
Well,
So-
here's the other thing that we want to touch on really quick, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Brad, but
Yeah, go ahead.
there is a new journey regarding credit repair, and it's got some pretty good stuff in there. We have also partnered with My Credit Guy. I've actually put probably about 6 or 7 people into their program who are interested. So there's a way that, if you know somebody doesn't have good credit, you can put them on that journey for credit repair. That's another way for you to stay in touch with them. In the middle of that credit repair is an actual, like an email going back out to them saying, hey, hello, how are you? Just checking to see how your credit is. So, but once you set a task for those particular people, once you set the task and you set another task and you set another task, you're going to find yourself really busy and on the phone and doing a text and sending a card or whatever. And you're going to see that you're just going to feel like you're accomplishing a lot more, I think.
So here's what I would kind of pull all of this conversation together, guys, because you've just been shared a whole bunch of ideas. Everybody that you know that's on your list that you can find a phone number and address for, you could still use them in the database. You can use them on all that stuff, but I want you to put them through the 8x8, the brand plan first. Take them through 8 weeks, 8 touches in 8 weeks. After that, that long-term plan can be lots of different plans. It can be the credit repair plan. It can be the homeowner plan that we're going to send out the CMA stuff or HomeBot. It could just be a generic plan. And the way you chop those touches up is if you've got something going out automatically, just wipe out a couple of the columns, because as soon as you put that person on that plan and you put them in the database and you start them on the HomeBot plan or the credit repair plan, you can just take out some of those columns on your long-term plan. The rest of the columns in there need to be something else. And if it's automated, just cross those out. But you're going to be left with phone calls and personal touches and maybe something you have to do manually once in a while. So you can have lots of different plans for those. And keep in mind, 98% of the people that we're talking to are not considering a mortgage right now. They're not considering moving. You just talked to them on the phone and found out how they were doing. So those people just go on a generic plan. 4 things about what's going on in your community a year. That's every quarter, 3 months. The month before that, send them something from you, just an update on what's going in the market. The month before that, send them something funny, article, something about just something to read. And then the other one could be anything else. So it's just about having these different touches built in there and leave those phone calls in there. And that cultivates that relationship. And 98% of the time they'll do that. So I'm going to leave you with these last 2 notes, and then I'll answer any questions or anything else you guys want to talk about. I think I got the slide shared again. This lady, Molly, wrote the book Discipline or something like that. Is anybody familiar with that book? It's called something Discipline or Discipline by Molly Gal. And she said to be in relationships, stand in an office and be there. What are they focused on? What are they worried about? What are they thinking about? What are they doing? She coaches some of the biggest pro athletes in the country. And she stands there to find out what's going on. In fact, a lot of the people that she got recruited to major baseball teams, it was understanding the wife and what was going on in their world, saying, you need to take this deal and get the wife to recruit him. What were you going to say? So, oh, he had to go. Okay. So this whole Buffalo charge, take the charge, what they were relating it to is when the big storm's coming, cows will like hunker down. Bears will crawl up in a tree. Buffaloes go right into the storm because they realize if they charge into the storm head on, they're going to get through to the other side of the storm faster. And that's why buffalo herds go into a storm and charge on through. So that was kind of like the theme of the whole KW thing. So again, leaving you with some stuff, talk to your KW agents. Buffalo charge the storm. Hey, what'd you come back from Anaheim with? What do we need? What are you going to charge the storm with? What'd you get from the event? What were your ahas? And then the last thing I'm going to share, it was pretty amazing. This one here, Gary was showing where transactions were happening. Do you know that last year, 1 in 16 agents took a listing? 1 in every 16 agents took a listing. That means that there's too many real estate agents in the market right now. And that is because what we actually won't even know how many are really going to survive until January of next year when their licenses are due. What we're finding already, and it's happening now, and you're seeing it even in the mortgage industry, people are going back to their jobs because they're not making 15 people haven't listed a house. So they go back to their other jobs and their license just sits there. Like, you don't cancel your real estate license somewhere in the middle of the year. It stays, you paid for it for the whole year. So until renewals are done in January, you're going to probably see 300 to 400,000 realtors drop out of their licenses, will not be renewed. They haven't been in the business for months. They've 300 to 4,000 people have already left the industry. So the realtors that are around working that you're talking to now, and you start having these conversations with them about building their database and helping them with their database and show them how much business is really there. That's where you're going to make it. Yeah.
Sorry, I got to run too.
Yeah.
This was awesome. Thank you.
You bet. Good. I'm glad you guys are getting good stuff. I mean, that's the mastermind part of this, is to talk around this stuff so you guys can take it back and use it with your agents. All right, guys, we are at the end of the hour. So I'll send you the recording as soon as it gets done. All right. And good to see you, Juan. I saw you hiding in the background there. Good to see you. All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Brad.